I see we have started our meeting today, and I would like to extend my very warm welcome on behalf of the 𝐒𝐮, the Euro-Mediterranean Arab Association, to all of you, our guests today at this Roundtable Sustainable Construction and Infrastructure in Jordan and beyond, perhaps. And I would also like to warmly welcome our two distinguished speakers of the day, Mrs. Ute Pfeifer and Professor Dr. Bashar Al-Tarawneh, who will be providing us with their input statements to get into the discussion of today's topic. Welcome to you, ahlan wa sahlan to Jordan, and thank you very much to all of you for joining us. I would like to maybe introduce the topic more broadly. The 𝐒𝐮 and Jordan go back a long time. We have had a lot of cooperation with Jordan already in the past. Not to forget that His Royal Highness Prince Hassan bin Talal is actually the honorary president from the Arab side of the 𝐒𝐮, and we've had many events and many dealings with Jordan before, with many dignitaries, but also with many academic institutions, with investment promotion agencies, with the chambers of commerce and industry, and of course with the business associations such as the Jordan Engineers Association. And we're very happy that they have partnered with us for this event today, and that Professor Dr. Tarawneh will also speak on their behalf today. Jordan is a country that has been bearing the brunt of regional conflicts in the Middle East, if I may say so. It has especially been a country that has received a lot of Syrian refugees in the last few years. And I remember a few years ago, the 𝐒𝐮 led a business delegation headed by the former president Christian Wulff to Jordan, also to the Zaatari refugee camp in northern Jordan, which at the time was one of the largest cities in Jordan, actually, and of course also needed a lot of infrastructure and planning at that time. And on the other hand, of course, also Palestinians have played a big role in Jordan in the last decades already, Jordan being one of the few countries that actually welcome Palestinian refugees and Palestinians as part of their population. And in 1994, some 25, 26 years ago, Jordan was only the second Arab country to sign a peace treaty with Israel at the time. And this is also a bold and promising step taken by the visionary leadership of His Majesty King Hussein at the time. And now, of course, with the developments in the last few weeks, we are very saddened about the hostilities that have erupted again, especially between Palestinians in Gaza and Israel. And we believe that bringing people together in an event like this and other events to discuss, to talk, to exchange, even if it seems especially fitting to speak about construction and infrastructure, of course, this bringing together will help foster cooperation instead of conflict and confrontation. So we're very happy to have you with us and to learn more about Jordan, about the region. And I would like, without further ado, to introduce to you our first speaker of the morning, Mrs. Ute Pfeifer. She's an architect and owner and general manager of Pfeifer Interplan, a civil engineering consultancy firm based in southern Germany in the beautiful city of Darmstadt. And she has experience with Arab countries and also on sustainable construction, and will let us know a little more about it in a moment. Mrs. Pfeifer is also a former member of the 𝐒𝐮 Executive Board, and she's a member of the Chamber of Architects and City Planners of the state of Hesse, as well as a member of the German Association of Consulting Engineers. Her company, Pfeifer Interplan, stands for more than 30 years of continuous success in the fields of construction consulting. Their reference buildings include, among others, high-rise buildings, cultural and commercial buildings, administrative complexes, residential quarters, and many more, and developing sustainable design concepts in order to enable environmentally friendly constructions is one of the core responsibilities of Pfeifer Interplan, and the company has offices throughout all of Germany, but also in Abu Dhabi. And I believe you've already shown us one of your projects in Abu Dhabi, which we can see in the background of your screen. So the floor is yours, Mrs. Pfeifer. Thank you very much for being here, for sharing your experience with us, and we look forward to hearing more from you.
Yes, thank you very much for your very warm welcome for me. First of all, I would like to say a very good morning to the participants of this round table. Could you show, please, the first slide? Yes. Yes, so as I already said to you, a very warm hello. I would also thank you. I would also want to say thank you to the EMA to give me the opportunity to meet you today. And I feel very much honored, and it's a pleasure to me to meet you, Professor Tarawneh. I hope I can provide you, the audiences, with interesting information. So could you please turn to the next page? Okay. Before I start my presentation, I would like to introduce myself, my planning office, as you already mentioned a lot of what we are doing. And I will tell you that the office was founded around 30 years ago by my husband and myself. My name, Ute Pfeifer. As you already know, I'm an architect and a professional coach, and as you already learned, member of the EMA. There are 5 offices in Germany. The head office is in Darmstadt, which is close to Frankfurt. You may know from the international airport there. We have been working on the topic of sustainability already for a rather long time, and I can say especially in our fields, structural engineering and building physics, the idea of sustainability is playing an increasingly growing role. It is about the right choice of building materials, optimized load-bearing structures with, for example, less concrete and less steel, energy concepts, and the economic operation and maintenance of buildings. We have run an office in Abu Dhabi for more than 15 years, and the office is unfortunately currently close to the Corona crisis. Especially, we are not able at the months ago in the past to fly to Abu Dhabi. We worked very hard to get our staff transferred to other local offices, and our office and our efforts have been successful. And I can tell you we are very happy about this. What you can here see first is a project that we have been working on in Abu Dhabi in matters of architecture and structural engineering. And we also have been on site to check all and everything that the construction and the execution went well. What you see next on the second picture is the Omni Tower in Frankfurt. It's a very outstanding high-rise building, and the project has been awarded to the LEED Platinum, which is in Germany the highest grade for sustainability. So could you please go to the next slide? The title of my presentation is as follows: Sustainability, Challenges and Opportunities for the Construction Industry from the Perspective of Planning, General and Individual Considerations. So please, next slide. The basic idea of sustainability is often represented as the 3 pillars model. So it's about environment, economy, and society. Environmental aspects are based on the idea of not over-exploiting the nature and natural resources. Economic aspects focus on economic behavior in this sense that not living at the expenses of future generations. And then we have the social aspects, taking into account the social consequences of decisions, whereby the goal should always be to keep social tensions within bounds. This is a simple and descriptive picture and serves as the red thread of my keynote speech, which is about the transformation of the general ideas of society, of sustainability to the society and all what is mentioned to the building industry, for example, in terms of infrastructure, regional and urban planning, individual building, even for industrial complexes. Whenever first thoughts, first sketches of a planning are made, big or small, the sustainability idea with the points mentioned should be part of it. We have to take into consideration the global population has exceeded to 7 billion people. A century ago, there were about 1.6 billion in the world, and in the 1960s, we were about half the people here on Earth as today. And the population is going to keep on growing. Each person in the world requires resources to survive. What, with regard to the built environment, means. Next slide, please. A roof over one's head, supply with water and energy, disposal of water and garbage, transportation routes for goods, shops to buy, and all necessary goods for daily life. Transportation routes to be part of the society and the economy. Fabrication plants, office centers to work there, ensure the income. Next slide, please. Virtual network facilities, medical centers, education institutions as basis of life and income, cultural institutions, sports facilities, amusement parks, and last but not least, places for spirituality. In our modern world, we can't do without buildings. So it makes absolutely sense to take a closer look at the issue of sustainability here, because there is an enormous economic power in construction and environmental exploitation. The requirements are high on a large and on a small scale, what means in general concepts and in the execution planning of every single project. The construction industry has always had a tremendous influence to the economic development of a country. The type of buildings that are built determine people's lifestyle. So next slide. The global climate change, with its temperature increase, the high CO2 load of the atmosphere, and the gradual shortage of raw materials are the driving forces for all sustainability efforts in the construction industry. General but also individual solutions have to be developed. The local climate and the availability and supply of building materials play a major role. And I say that in the context, for example, Jordan and Germany. So we have problems with the cold outside in the region. They have problem with the heat outside now in cause of the climate change, but they are quite different. We have a lot of rain, they have no rain, and all the things. Yes, building material, steel, concrete, wood is available in Germany easily, but maybe the problem with the wood construction in Jordan would be tremendous. Yes, so we have always, when we have a look to sustainability, we have to check what are the conditions in a certain country. So you can have a general view on the challenges, but I think it's important that the regions and countries, I will emphasize this once again, have their individual view on them and develop their own specific solutions. The global climate change, with its temperature increase, will change all and everything, I think. the construction industry plays a pioneering role and sets the example in matters of sustainability, which is subject not only in this field. Public clients in particular are challenged to set new environmental friendly standards. So these are not only the private clients who made these clever decisions. No, it is, let me say, something which should come from the government. And I can tell it, in Germany, we have lots of governmental assignments, and they set the goal in matters of sustainability. The settlement structure, rural or urban, the age structure of the population, cultural characteristics, climatic conditions, available building materials, traditional construction methods, and existing buildings should be the basis for our considerations. So please, next slide. And I would like to introduce to you a keyword list in context of sustainable buildings without claiming completeness. Environment-friendly residential concepts, condensed living and working close together in order to reduce commuting, which means to reduce CO2 emissions produced day by cars. Yes, I will remind you of the queues of cars every morning worldwide, what means great CO2 emissions every day. Environmental friendly building materials, interior fittings, taking into account the primary energy consumption during production and the transport routes. What does it cost to produce steel for reinforcement? This is the steel inside the concrete structures. Or what does it cost to get wood from where? From the world, from far away. Use of recycled material, cleverly thought out thermal building insulation concept against heat and cold. Use maybe of solar energy, use of wind energy, reduction of the energy consumption to run a building, and wastewater separation and multiple use of it. And with a look to the future, we should have buildings with flexible use options. Once built for shops and living, maybe 50 years later, cinema or conference centers or what else. We are talking about building materials which are easily to recycle, and we are talking about the use of building materials which are biodegradable. So next slide. So, because of the time limitation, and I promised to be within this 10 minutes, I come now to my last slide and the conclusion, focusing on my field, the planning. Planning hand in hand, down to the smallest details. Interdisciplinary cooperation with all parties involved in a building project is a fundamental precondition for the realization of sustainability concepts in construction. So we are talking about the authorities, the clients, the investor, it's the architect, we as structural engineers, mechanical engineers, building physics, other specialized planners, and the building permit authorities. These are all the people and the expert around a project to get it sustainable. So, and now the last slide, please. So, what can I tell you so far for now? And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Pfeifer, for your input statement and for these insights into your work and your thoughts on sustainable construction. Before we go into the discussion and question round, I would kindly like to introduce to you Professor Dr. Bashar Al-Tarawneh and his input statement. Dr. Tarawneh is a professor of civil engineering at the University of Jordan. He received his master and PhD in civil engineering from Ohio University in 2002 and 2005, respectively. He was responsible for several high-profile projects while working with the Ohio Research Institute for Transportation and Environment, the Ohio Department of Transportation, and several other private sector companies. He's still a registered professional engineer in Ohio, in addition to being a certified foundation engineer from Dubai too. So there's a connection, if you will, to your own work, Mrs. Pfeifer, being based in the Emirates. Since 2016, Dr. Tarawneh is a board member of the Higher Education Accreditation and Quality Assurance Commission. And in 2018, he was elected as the head of the Civil Engineering Division and a board member at the Jordan Engineers Association, who he represents today in this meeting. He's also the chairman of the Professional Accreditation and Qualification Committee at JEA and was involved in resolving design and construction problems through several technical committees formed by the Jordanian Council of Ministers and the Public Works and Housing Ministry. Dr. Tarawneh is also a member of the Engineering Education Committee at the Federation of Arab Engineers. He will introduce to us now the Jordan Engineers Association, JEA, and shed some light on engineering education and training in Jordan, as well as on JEA partnerships with Germany and other countries. Thank you very much for taking the time to be here with us, and I look forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And I would like to thank 𝐒𝐮 for giving me this opportunity to give this presentation about the Jordanian Engineers Association. I would also like to thank everybody for attending this roundtable. Before I start my presentation, I would like to mention that our prayers goes out to Gaza and its children and people as they are going now under a tremendous attack. You know, we're losing many kids, families, homes, and I wish that the world will move and do something about this. Because Gaza people have been under sanctions for many years, and now they're going, they're under attack, and we're seeing that there's some ethnical cleansing in Gaza. So we hope that this will end now before tomorrow. I'm going to start my presentation here. As you mentioned, that I am the elected board member at the Jordanian Engineers Association, and also I'm the head of the Civil Engineering Division. So basically, I'm a civil engineer, and this is what I would like to be called, you know, all the time. In this presentation, I'm gonna give a brief about the Jordanian Engineers Association and what we do and how we are connected with the construction world in Jordan and outside Jordan. You know, Jordan Engineers Association was established in 1953. And the goal was to organize the services of few hundred engineers. So in the 1953, we had few hundred engineers. Today, we have about 174,000 engineers from all engineering disciplines. And those engineers are Jordanian engineers, and they are all over the world. So you will see, you know, Jordanian engineers all over the world, but they're all registered here at the Jordan Engineers Association. Basically, you know, the objective of the Jordan Engineers Association, basically to be part or a major player in organizing the engineering profession in Jordan. In addition to that, you know, to defend our engineers Also to promote the scientific professional standing of engineers. In addition to that, participate in planning and developing educational and training program in engineering. So we do that in collaboration with all universities and engineering programs in Jordan. In addition to that, we participate in study of inter-Arab nature, and we exchange information between us and the Arab countries and all the surrounding countries. All we do, basically, we make all possible endeavor to enable the association to achieve its professional objectives. Here, I'm just going to give some brief information about the engineering branches and division. 6 engineering divisions. For each engineering division, we have branching. So you will see civil engineers, but there are several branches for civil engineers, such as structural, water, roadway, material survey, as you can see in here. Same for architecture, engineering, mechanical, electrical, mining, and chemical engineering. Here, since we're engineers, we like to see numbers. So you will see here the total is about 174,000 engineers. Out of those, we have 52,000 civil engineers and about 60,000 electrical engineers and 34,000 mechanical engineers, 15 or about 16,000 architectural engineers. And you will see we have about 1,600 mining, geology, engineering, about 9,000 chemical engineers. So this is the distribution of our members, as you can see in here. Okay, I'm going to talk about also the consultancy offices. Here in Jordan, anybody or any entity or company wants to do any engineering work in Jordan has to register with the Jordanian Engineers Association. And for the registration, there are some requirements in terms of, number of engineers they have, their expertise, their specialties, their previous experience, and so on and so forth. Even foreign companies who want to work in Jordan in design or construction or any engineering related projects, they have to register with us and they have to fulfill our requirements. So here in Jordan, we have about 1,200 engineering consultancy offices. So some of them are international offices, like international companies, but they have offices here in Amman, Jordan, or in anywhere in Jordan, so they have to register with us. You will see the majority of the offices are in Amman because it's the capital, and in this world now with the COVID-19, engineers, when they're doing design, they can operate from anywhere in the world. Now, our engineering consultancy offices, are working in the international market. So most of them, they're using Jordan as a hub because, it's easy for them to find specialized engineer with the experience that they need. So those offices, the one I showed you in the previous slide, about 1,200, they're operating in Northern Africa, Southern Africa, all Gulf Arab states, like in the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iraq. We do have, several companies, Jordanian companies working in Iraq, doing some design work in Iraq, Lebanon. We have several companies, Syria, Singapore, and Central Asia. Okay. In addition to that, at the Jordanian Engineer Association, everything is under the umbrella of the Jordanian Engineers Association. We have an engineering training center. So in this training center, we perform all kind of engineering training for our engineers. let's say for recent graduate, mid-level career and senior engineers. And this engineering training office, we also operate in several countries around Jordan, and we performed several training programs for the private and governmental bodies in Jordan and outside Jordan. Here are some more information about, the training center. I can try to put more details in this presentation, and I'll be more than happy to provide you with a copy of this presentation if anybody is interested to see more details about what we do. And the Engineering Training Center also is certified by several international bodies. Here more information about our engineers training center, the accreditation from several international bodies, and we recently signed an agreement with the Board of Certified Safety Professional, so we can perform their training here in Jordan. And the next step is to make this exam here in Jordan, and also the IEEE, PLC, FIDIC also. We are, certified or licensed to give FIDIC training and certification too. We perform training in many Arab countries: Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Qatar, Libya, Palestine, and different countries. And now with the online training, we can do more than that. In addition to that, we have some engineering training programs like internship and employment program for our engineers. As you know, the recent graduate in Jordan, we have each year about 9,000 graduates who get their engineering degree in several disciplines. So at Jordan Engineers Association, in addition to give them some training programs at the ETC, the Engineer Training Center, we have some internship programs. So it's a 6-month program. If the engineer find a training position at any company here in Jordan, we would participate part of his salary for the first 6 months, just to encourage Jordanian companies to hire recent graduates, because companies most of the time looking for a mid-career level, somebody with 1, 2, 3 years of experience. So this is going to be a good start for the recent graduate. In addition to that, we have some training program also with the government. So, and it costs us more, but we have to do it as a service for our engineers. In addition to that, we get in touch with all recruitment and international companies in case they need an engineers. We can advertise this on our website, and we can reach all the engineers. We have a database for all our engineers, up-to-date database, and we have updated database for their experiences, what they do, their experience, and where they work at. So if we get a request for an engineer with a very specific experience, we can announce that. In addition to that, we can reach our engineers. So, for example, in the last 2 years, we've been providing, the training opportunity for about 3,500 to 4,000 recent graduates. But this is still low because it's about 35 to 40% of the graduates, or the recent graduates. Here, I'm going to talk about the engineering education in Jordan. As you know, in Jordan, we have a good education program. So it's for any student to get into engineering school, their GPA has to be in the high school more than 80%. So this is kind of law in Jordan. And the language we teach engineering in is in English. So all our engineering curriculum are in English, and it's more like a US focused engineering curriculum. So we have about 26 engineering colleges, if you want to call that, in Jordan. So we have 26 universities who offer engineering programs. As you know, for a university to give an engineering program, they have to get approval from the Ministry of Higher Education. Then after that, they have to get accredited from the accreditation board. So the curriculum is English. In addition to that, the student to graduate has to go a training in the last year and deliver a capstone or graduation project. Here, more information about the Accreditation and Quality Assurance Commission. This commission will make sure that engineering programs have, appropriate labs, and sufficient number of faculty members, their experience, their disciplines, and so on and so forth. In addition to that, we have many engineering programs in Jordan that are accredited by the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology, the 𝐉𝐨𝐫𝐝, and one of them is the program that I'm teaching in at the University of Jordan. When it comes to business opportunity and collaboration, we have MOUs with Global Engineering Association related to exporting engineering services. So here I'm going to talk about engineering services that's related to engineering consultancy offices and related to engineers. So we have MOUs, with several associations. For example, on that we have between the GIA and the Engineers Association in Iraq, between us and the Engineering Association in Syria. Also, recently we signed MOU between, the Infrastructure Construction Companies Association in Jordan and the Jordan Engineers Association. We have several companies who already have, already are working in this market. In addition to that, our engineers are working in Libya, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and Kuwait. I'm going to talk about our business opportunity and cooperation relations with Germany. So we have a MOU with the 𝐉𝐨𝐫𝐝, and we invited them here to Jordan. They came in, and we had, several lectures and discussions along with the DB, which is the Deutsche Bahn. In order to, export not engineering services, to find opportunities for our engineers in Germany specifically, we talked about several engineering bodies in Germany. We talked to the Federal Employment Agency in Germany. So we found the major challenge is the language, the German language. So we started working on that. We have a German language to Jordanian engineers program. This program is funded or 50% funded by the Jordanian Ministry of Labor. Now there is, I think in the next few weeks, there will be an agreement to be signed between the Jordanian Ministry of Labor and the German Federal Employment Agency. We have Jordanian engineers now who went through the first interview with some German companies, and this is just started because now we have people who are ready and they already have a German language skill. In addition to that, our ETC, the Engineer Training Center, is ready to give any technical courses that are needed for Jordanian engineers to be competent in the German market. I'm going to give, here some numbers about our total number of engineers who are, doing the German language program. So we have about more than 2,000 engineers. They are distributed through the level, let's say level A1A, we have about 600, and for the rest of levels, as you can see the numbers in here. Here we have the number of registered engineers by branches. Let's say how many civil engineers are registered in this program. We have about 600. Architect, we have about 150. Mechanical, we have about 700, and so on and so forth for the rest of the numbers. I hope that I gave you a little information about what Jordanian Engineers Association do. And I just want to give one more detail that the Jordan Engineers Association is does exist in the Jordanian building law, that any building that needs to be constructed, the design plans has to be reviewed and approved by the Jordan Engineers Association for all disciplines. Overall, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. And again, I would like to thank IMA for giving us this opportunity to make this presentation. I'm providing the contact information for Khalid Nassar, who's the head of business development and international relations. I'll be more than happy to provide you with a copy of this presentation if anybody is interested in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tarawneh, for your insightful presentation too. I guess we all learned something about the Jordan Engineers Association and its activities, especially in relationship to Germany today. And this is also at the core of this event. Before allowing more questions from the audience, from the participants, I would like to ask the audience a few questions ourselves. We prepared a short poll that I hope we can upload now and share with you. Please take a moment to answer these questions that should pop up on your screens now, so that we can get a better idea and understanding of how you are already perhaps dealing with Jordan and where you're active. And I will present the results of the poll to you in a moment. In the meantime, thank you again to both speakers for your presentations, and I hope that in the discussion we can also touch a little more on the topic of sustainable construction infrastructure in Jordan and in the wider region. We will give you the opportunity to ask your questions directly to the speakers. We will also invite you kindly to turn on your video so we can have a more intimate, if you will, atmosphere here, see each other, know who we are dealing with, and then we can also enable you to open the microphones and ask your questions directly, perhaps. But other than this, of course, you're welcome to also type your questions in the chat. I'm not sure now if the poll is over already. Perhaps
we had 7.
Yes, thank you.
Polls out of 15, so we will wait a little bit longer.
Okay, great. So at this point, let me quickly see if there have already been any questions. There is one question here by Mr. Wippe in the chat already. Maybe the question seems to be the first question rather seems to be directed at both speakers. Could you please give us some information on programs, obstacles, and progress in the field of sustainable construction and infrastructure in Jordan? I think I would like to ask you, Professor Tarawneh, to shed some light on this first, because I see there is a second part of the question that is more specifically addressed at Mrs. Pfeifer. When it comes to large urban development projects or even new towns focused on sustainability, and perhaps which of the three pillars do you see in the focus here that you've presented in your slides about ecological, economic, or social pillars? It would be great to hear your insights. Maybe first you, Professor Tarawneh, and then Mrs. Pfeifer. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So here, when it comes to sustainable construction, I'm going to shed the light on the energy sector in Jordan here. As you know, Jordan has more than 300 sunny days out of 365 days. So we have about 320. So we've been focusing on the solar energy. In terms of large solar energy projects, we have several number of those projects mainly in the south and east side of Jordan, mainly because those areas are flat and they get more sun, and they are more kind of close to the desert, or if I want to call them more like a desert. So we're talking about the south and the east side. In addition to that, those are the larger projects. In addition to that, now there are some programs that encourage local citizens and people to install solar energy on their houses to make their energy bill zero. So we have several companies, Jordanian companies, in collaboration with international companies, and some of them using maybe German technology. And the cost of this about $4,000 total cost, the capital cost of this, and that takes their energy bill to zero. In addition to that, we did great work on the wind energy. That's in the south of Jordan, in the mountain of Dana. This area has a very high mountains, open area, and there's a huge project. I think it's in collaboration with Italian company. So they have a huge wind farm in there. If anybody wants more information about this, I can give this information and provide them to you. In addition to that, the government is encouraging using the electric cars and hybrid cars. Also, in Jordan, when it comes to water, we are very poor when it comes to water resources, especially with the climate change. Now, especially this year, we didn't get much rain. It wasn't as much as we need, so we have a shortage in water. So what we did, we've in the last probably 20 years, there are many dams built in several places in Jordan, and some of them are small, but they still can collect a good amount of water. In addition to that, we have constructed several wastewater treatment plant in Jordan, and the latest one was opened probably a few weeks ago. That's in the northern Amman. When it comes to construction or sustainability in construction projects, the government has some, program that motivate, developers and owners if they use, let's say, what they call green buildings. So if the building is totally run by solar energy and they already have some treatment, of the wastewater of this building. In addition to that, I'm not an architect engineer, so I'm not going to get into that. The way they design the building, when it comes to the views and how you receive the sun in the building, there are some motivation plan in Jordan for that. So I hope I answered the question.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Pfeifer, could you add to this piece, especially with regard to the second part of the question?
What I have to add, I think it's very important to get a general awareness of what sustainability means. And I think what I introduced to you is to think about the fundamental things behind, yes, and why we are so much driven to get in the subject, yes, to have the reason why, yes, this is the global climate change, and it's how to deal with the scarcity to get that we have from time to time less raw material and so on. These are general problems. And because construction and construction industry in the world is so big, I think we have to go into the fundamental things. And this is what I tried to explain and to introduce to you. And what I think in for young students or in the education, it's very important to get the young people in the subject. Yes, architecture, yes, can be great, but without the thoughts of sustainability, it has no future, I think. And this is what I think is mainly important. And as you mentioned, Professor Tarawneh, the training and the additional training for young students, or the vocational trainings for, let me say, engineers who have already been working on the subject for 10 or 15 years, they should have the vocational trainings to get into the subject. This is, I think, very, very important. And to get, let me say, experts in the field. This is important, not only in Germany or Jordan, it's a worldwide challenge, I think.
Exactly.
Yes, this was my contribution to the question.
If we think of the third pillar of sustainability, you mentioned social participation or inclusion. How inclusive of civil society is this approach, civil society activities or programs and projects?
Yes, I can tell. So let I have a view on this is the town of Frankfurt. Yes, we have an inner city, and then we have residential areas and so on. Yes, but now we have people living in the residential area. We're not very well connected to the town, to the workplaces and all the things. And I think sustainability should include all this aspect, that people can live in peace together. Yes, and with a view to the future, yes, we are faced with a lot of social problems, yes, everywhere in all societies. And I think this is plays an important role, not only to talk about energy and material and so on, to also talk about the society, that a society is stable and well developed in the whole. And this has to do with sustainability on the long run.
And in the end, people are, of course, the ones actually using the facilities, the buildings, the infrastructure that has been built and constructed. So it is, I guess, important to also take into consideration what people think. I would at this point like to introduce to you the poll results we asked you a few minutes ago. answer questions, a few questions regarding this topic, and we have a tie as far as the question if you're already doing business with Jordan and its neighboring countries is concerned. 50% said yes and 50% said no. And a great majority of people say that they are considering developing or deepening business relations with Jordan. That's more than 60%, with another almost 40% considering this option at least. And most of the participants are active in environmental construction, although we had multiple answers possible here, but there are also several answers regarding the residential and commercial building, industrial and heavy civil construction, and also several other options that were tagged here. So thank you very much for participating in this quick poll. It shows us that the topic of Jordan is or seems to be important in this group anyway. And of course, we're especially interested in the idea of sustainable construction, how German companies can do business with Jordan. Maybe Professor Tarawneh, can you shed some light on, you've briefly touched on it already, on how a German company would have, what a German company would have to do if they want to be active in Jordan or participate in a public tender, for example? Are there any specific requirements and anything that they could do well to be successful in their endeavors?
Yes, I mean, thank you for the question. I know that we have several German companies already are in Jordan, and yes, you know, they can apply for any tender in Jordan. You know, they only need to they need to have people here to know about projects before they even go into tender. You know, probably that's the way to go in the private sector. And usually, you know, any tender from the private or from the government, it's usually, you know, advertised. And the requirement usually, you know, advertised. So, but you know, the best way for any German company that's interested in the Jordanian market is the first step for them is to can track those advertisements and maybe team up with the local, let's say, Jordanian contractors or consulting offices. And if we can help, you know, in this, if they are interested in anything that's in specific, we can get them in touch with the right, you know, contractor or the right consultant. And this is not only in Jordan, this is in the region. So if they want to go after a project, let's say in Saudi Arabia or in the Gulf states, and they want to team up with somebody over there, if they can get in touch with us, we can get them connected, you know, with the right company or the right group of companies. I mean, we can tell them, hey, this is the list of companies who are working in this field. You can, you know, get in touch with them and do business with them.
Great. It's good to know that the Jordan Engineers Association is open for contact with the German companies, and you've already shared the contact details. And of course, we'll also be happy for those who didn't have the chance to jot them down to pass them on, to forward them to you in the audience. Also, the 𝐒𝐮 has a quite comprehensive tender database itself on its website that is accessible for corporate members of the 𝐒𝐮. So there you will also find a lot of public tenders about all of the region. Of course, Mrs. Pfeifer, if I may ask you, you've had experience with working as a German company in an Arab country. How did you get to work in this project or in these projects that you've worked on? How did you access or get access to local tenders, to local projects?
Yes, we have made some experience, or lots of experience even, in the Emirates. First of all, at the very beginning stood a delegation, yes, with German people, and we realized that there is a lot to do in matters of construction. And our interest arose, yes. And we traveled several times to the United Arab Emirates, met people there, and then we started our business. What we did not expect was the paperwork, which we had to do as a consultancy, because we do not deliver goods, but we provide our clients with services. So we had lots of papers to be stamped in Germany and stamped by the UAE embassy. Then we had to submit these papers, and we were very happy to meet a local legal consultant, a German guy living, let me say, 10 years minimum in Abu Dhabi. And with his assistance, we got all what we needed to be registered. And then we start our business, let me say, rather normal. We introduced our company to potential clients. We got to know these people and that people. So, and in the end, you could see we had lots of very interesting assignments, planning tasks to do, but all and everything focusing on our experience and what we are. This is very, very important to have this good reputation. Yes, to bring your reputation and all what you are from the German market and introduce it to, let me say, for example, to the market in the UAE. And this way we have been very successful. We had no sponsor. We developed our office in Abu Dhabi as a branch from the mother firm in Germany, and even this worked. But without the good reputation from the German market, we couldn't have done all this.
And what is your experience specifically, Mrs. Pfeifer, with sustainable construction, especially also in the region, in the Arab markets? Could you tell us a little more about this?
Yes, now it's years ago when we started, and the subject of sustainability wasn't in the focus as it is now. Yes, our contribution is always in matters of sustainability, the optimized structure, the optimized load-bearing structure. And our office is very strong in this field, and this is why we got some of the assignments. Yes, we have the programs, we have the experience how to get this reduced, yes, the material. And this was part of our success.
Thank you. Professor Tarawneh, are there any specific incentives for German companies or international companies when it comes to construction projects or to setting up a base or a branch or an office in Jordan that you can tell us about?
Yes, the Investment Commission in Jordan here provide all international companies with incentives to come in Jordan and do, let's say, open a factory or employ, specifically if you a German company or any international company interested to come in Jordan, for example, to open a factory and employ locals here in Jordan, you get incentives when it comes to tax breaks. So I think they give you a tax break for like 5 years or so. Then they give you incentives on the like a piece of land or area that you can do your work in or your business in, and we'll be more than happy to provide you with such information, because it depends on how big the business is and how much you are invested in. In addition to that, Jordan is going to announce several BOT projects, like build, operate, and transfer projects, especially for the railroad projects. And I think there was an advertisement for that probably last year or so. And there's going to be another advertisement coming up maybe next year or so, because now we are very interested in the public transport and railroads.
Maybe I can add your question once again. So we invited our potential clients to Germany, yes, to build up this confidence, yes. In the UAE, nobody knew Pfeifer Interplan, who said, yes, who are these people? And this helped. So we have been very ambitious, in parts a bit patient, yes, because to build up confidence between you and the potential client takes time, yes.
Exactly.
You are a newcomer in, let me say, foreign country. Now I do not feel that the UAE is a foreign country, because we worked rather long time in the UAE, but in the very beginning, yes, they meet two foreigners, yes, and this is very important, yes. And we invited potential clients to our home, yes, so they could, okay, these people are okay, reliable, and we can work with them, yes. This is a very important subject, a very important point. And when you get a private invitation to the private home of your potential client, yes, then a good relation can start. Maybe this is a bit different in Germany, from Germany, where you never would get a private invitation from your potential client or from your potential consultant. But this way it worked very good. This I think is very, very important to emphasize at this point.
It is true that definitely relations between Arab partners in general and German partners have to be very careful, very much based on trust and confidence, as you've mentioned. It is a bit different from doing business among Germans, I guess. So we are, of course, also encouraging you to always try to find this kind of, or establish this kind of relationship, a kind of partnership based on trust and on something future oriented, and not just a short-term relationship based on a quick gain. But I guess all in this group would agree with this statement already, based on the subject of this roundtable today. I would like again to also invite all of you to turn on your cameras to make this a more intimate setting. I know some of you have already done so, so please feel free. I would perhaps just ask one or two final questions before we can get into more really discussion among each other, and not so much based on just a purely Q&A session. So to round up here, we also had received a few questions, and I would like to address specifically you, Professor Tarawneh, here. That are there any specific fields or areas of the construction sector that are specifically appealing or attractive to German or international companies, specifically with regard perhaps to the health industry, the health sector? Is there anything being done in the health infrastructure, especially recently, of course, in the course of the pandemic, or in regard to the agriculture sector with, for example, a view to CO2 storage, be it in agriculture or elsewhere, of course, but you've already mentioned renewable energy, so perhaps you can shed some more light on these sectors or others that are of importance too. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about the agriculture, even though I'm a civil engineer. But agriculture maybe, or it's going to be a big business in Jordan. Why? Because we are experiencing difficulties with water, and we have a climate change. So there has to be a study of the climate, or restudy the climate and the amount of water based on the type of land that we have. And then we welcome anybody interested to do any agricultural research or do any agricultural maybe a project utilizing plants that need less water. So if anybody is interested in that, we'll be more than happy to collaborate with them. In addition to that, maybe another factor is using fertilizers, because we have the Arab Potash company that's in the Dead Sea, and it's one of the major companies in the region or in the world maybe. So they started, producing some fertilizers and exporting them outside Jordan, and they did very well last year. And in addition to that, we have the phosphate company. That's a Jordanian company. It's located, south of Jordan, and they're working on that too. But I think they haven't done much because they are just exporting the raw material. So if any company that is interested in this, you can have all what you need, but the big question always, how can we utilize plants that needs less amount of water? And this is about the agriculture with the little knowledge that I have, because I'm not an agricultural expert. This is one thing. When it comes to the healthcare, I agree with you. I mean, the healthcare construction sector before COVID-19 is not the same as after COVID-19, because the goal here is to, or the technology or the future, I would say, based on what I saw or what we saw in Jordan, is that is to build temporary hospitals that can operate in less period of time, and that's going to be portable. You can move them, because what happened here in Jordan, we have many hospitals, but the problem is that some people in some areas that they had difficulties to reach those hospitals, and some of them are, were over occupied. So what the government did, they built about 4 or 5 temporary hospitals in Jordan. So it's and I know that there were 2 or 3 hospital projects were advertised 4 or 5 months ago. One of them, I know one of them is in the south, in the city of Ma'an, but I don't know about the other one, or I don't remember what cities they are in. So I hope I answered with the information I know.
Thank you very much. Are there any more questions from the audience at this point? Anyone would like to say something or add something in this official part of the roundtable?
Oh, I have a question to the professor. So, assumed I would develop a business in your country as a consultant, yes? Would I have to start from the very beginning as I learned it in the UAE? So you have perhaps an idea. So we had to show our projects, all our references. We had to have stamps from the chambers of engineers and architects. Then we had to go to the consulate and to the embassy and so on and so on. Is it like this, or is it in another way?
I would say basically yes, but with some differences, because yes, here it's the design work is liability at the end of the day. So you want any even local or foreign companies, they need to prove that they're eligible to do this work. And with the civil engineers, I'm going to talk about like the civil design work. Any offices that's open in Jordan, if they need to deliver design projects, they have to have engineers, and those engineers has to pass some interviews or exams with the Jordan Engineers Association. Like at least they have to have 7 years of design experience, and they need to sit with the company and with the committee and discuss with them what they did, and they need to answer questions. Like, you know, if you work in the UAE, I did too. When I went there, you know, I have a PhD in geotechnical engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I wanted to do some design work, so I had to sit for an exam to be a certified foundation engineer with the Dubai municipality. So it's basically the same.
Yes, okay, thank you.
It's a process. Once you start it, you know, you can do that. But maybe the easiest way is to team up with the local consulting firm in Jordan, because some of the consulting firm in Jordan, maybe some of them, they're interested in the mechanical and electrical, you know, disciplines. They're not interested in civil, but you know, if the German company would come and tell them, hey, we can do the civil for you, then you can go after a project, you can sign up. Also, you have some engineering companies, probably what you do, those towers, maybe they're not capable of delivering a design for, you know, those towers. You know, we have several companies in Jordan who can design those towers and already did work in the United Arab Emirates. As you know, from the Dubai municipality, you have to be certified as a G+12 engineer, and
okay, yes.
those
I have to mention we got the G+ Unlimited in Dubai.
Oh,
Yes.
that's nice. I see. Yeah, so it's basically the same process.
Okay, and I can tell you, we had no project G+ Unlimited or G+, I don't know, in Dubai, because later on we focused only on Abu Dhabi. And
Okay.
I think at this time, this was the best decision, I have to tell you. But it is very interesting to get from you this information, especially you mentioned that there is your country and your chamber, I think, is very much interested in this knowledge transfer between German and Jordan engineers, yes? And
Yes.
you told me, okay, there is a program that engineers from Germany could come, from Jordan could come to Germany, and
Yes.
maybe the other way around. Maybe this is or could be a very fruitful basis. And I made some notes because this is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
this is, of course, something.
platform like this, maybe that's another reason to come here, to get people to know in a specific country.
Exactly.
And when I learned, okay, your country or you especially are very interested to have this transfer. Yes, very,
Yes.
very interesting. Thank you so
And
much.
this is, of course, something that applies to all participants today, all German companies that might be interested in employing or giving an internship opportunity to a Jordanian engineer. I was speaking to Professor Tarawneh before our meeting today, and he told me it is more difficult to study German than to become an engineer.
Yes.
But the Jordanian engineers really are in the German language program too, and will be happy to assist any German company also with their expertise and knowledge and qualifications that they acquire through their Jordanian education. So this is definitely an opportunity also for further exchange. I would like to use the opportunity to announce another business breakfast that we will host in a week from today on the 26th of May at 9 a.m. German time, about reforestation of the desert and the resource wood in the value chain. It will kind of build on today's experience of sustainability, of course, although it is not related, so you can attend the business breakfast even without knowing about what you've learned today. I would like to invite you to check it out on our website and register if you're interested to learn more. We will keep you posted on that. And this leaves me finally to thank you, Mrs. Pfeifer and Professor Tarawneh, for your inputs today. Thank you very much for being with us, for sharing your insights and experience. And also big thanks to the team of the EMA who have set up this meeting, technology-wise and content-wise. Thank you very much for making this possible. And I suggest we turn off the recording now, and whoever would like to stay in the room with us is welcome to do so and engage in a more private conversation, if you will. So this stays among us and is no longer on record.